Okay, so I'm getting up from a nap and my eyes are a little like tired, and like we're gonna push through because we must talk about the only way to save this show. Okay, so at this point, not only are they gonna have to bring Kenya back, but also Nene Leakes. And I'm no Nene Leakes fan. Oftentimes I'll say no lacks because she is lacking. And really, I've never gotten it in terms of superstardom, but I do know she's had a nice run, and it maybe would be good for her to come back at this time. Kenya, of course, does need to come back, and what a shame this reunion seating chart has been. The first person I think about is Shamia. Shamia has been, in the words of Kelly Clarkson, waiting for a moment like this. She's been waiting for her moment forever, and now she has been the lead, so to speak. I mean, Portia. But Shamia was the lead. This was supposed to be her season, and she has just been getting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. Style down, fashion all day. She's fantastic. It's her moment. And then you got the Kenya Moore situation. Now Brit Eady. I mean, for the season that it's been, at the very least, Brit could have showed up to the reunion. And Brit deciding not to show up to the reunion, the only person I think about is Shamia. I'm like, poor Shamia just did not get the tools, the support that was required to make a great season. And I feel really bad because it does go into the question, will Real Housewives of Atlanta have to pull a complete revamp? Or do they go back to adding, people from the very beginning? Kim, Nene, Candy. Well, Candy was not the very, but you see what I'm saying. Deshaun, like, what is going to need to be done? I feel like Shamia is not going to get her chance. And this isn't about Shamia. This is just about the reunion seating chart and it just being so wonky and so weird and so odd. And I wonder, like, is there a sympathy for Brit? Like, is there like a hive, like a Brit hive that's like, oh good, she didn't have to come to the reunion, she held her head tall and she was, she stood on business. Like, is there that fan base out there that like rides for Brit? I really don't see it. Now, the funniest thing with Brit, like, she's been uneventful throughout the season, yes. However, the thing that does make me chuckle, I watch a lot of podcasts and stuff of that nature. They're very entertaining. I don't watch clips at all. 60-second increments are like boring to me. Everyone's like screaming at you, talking super fast. I don't like that. But I do watch like the hour-long, 35-minute long, different, like, compelling shows, which Rachel Lindsay, who's on the Ringer podcast, from The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and all that kind of stuff, she says, I've never seen Brit Eady with the same face. And if you do watch the show and the flashbacks, it's like Brit is, you just never know what Brit you're gonna get, or if that's even her real name. So Brit, I mean, unfortunately has been a lackluster cast member throughout this franchise. Are we right about this? Like, this is just a complete no return on the investment, and such a thing that, yes, Kenya of course has all the responsibility for what she did, but like bringing in a cast member with this much energy to even sort of go to that space, the show is tit for tat, it's like, you said this, I said this, you said this, I said this, but Kenya getting put in a situation where she felt like a little bit threatened, and then she, of course, in Kenya form, retaliated, so strongly the other way. But it's even like, are you put in a good situation, especially somebody who's been giving so much to the network? Somebody could say, well, Kenya, she redeemed a great paycheck and, her career got revitalized when she came onto the show. And that's all true too, but I think there is possibly a responsibility for casting, production, and the network to make sure, I guess what I'm saying is I could see like bringing Kelly, bringing Brit, and like they can kind of go through it because they're starting off and you have to do what you have to do to sort of make your mark. But I do feel like, it would be like any job, you're working your job and you have been 15, 16 years in it, and all of a sudden you have to sort of, not saying you're above anybody, but you have to work with somebody who's just at a different level than you. It's something we don't want to talk about. We don't want to think about because we don't want to make it like somebody's better than someone else. But at the same time, if it was your situation, I mean, I think that that's possibly something worth talking about. And that could be for any job, a high, a big financial job, or you could be working at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store. It doesn't matter. The Walgreens, the CVS, like the concept is like, if you've earned a little bit of credibility, if you've earned a little bit of seniority within your job, do you have to, as Wendy Williams used to say, mess with the swill? Do you have to? And yes, we will not mix our words that like what Kenya did was insanely out of pocket. But I think, and I mentioned this on other episodes, like there's a moment like this. Do you remember that song? Moment Like This with Kelly Clarkson, season 1 of American Idol. Anyways, a moment like this where, yes, all the bad, and I say this for Brit too, and this is why her missing the reunion was such a big deal, and a bad move really, because what you had was I mean, in some ways it's not reality because this situation only happened because they were filming a show, but the real reality is this road back towards understanding each other, coming to a place where apologies and acceptance and moving forward could happen. It could have really been something great, and it just does go to show, unfortunately, for Brit, that she just keeps on catching the L. Like, she's catching L's all day, and she never... It's almost as if she's, she doesn't really ever get the win. Like, this was a chance for her to get the win, and yet the fan base is like, I don't like to say, but she is the problem. She is the problem. Anyway, I guess your overall thoughts. I will say another thing. I'm glad Shamia got first seat. Portia got first seat, but that's just because, who else was going to get it? I do think Cynthia really didn't have a lot going on, and I feel like if they did come back and kept this cast, like Cynthia, of course, needs to sort of give a little bit more. I don't think she's boring. I've never said that, but I think in this context where the show is what it is, and even her sort of broken friendship with Kenya, I think if Cynthia comes back, there needs to be a little bit more. That I think for sure. Kelly was fun. Angela was fun. I do feel bad for Drew was very interesting. She would show something very, very personal in terms of the stuff with Ralph, the breaking up and the divorce and just the complications with that, which was one thing. But on the other end, I feel like she, with the other group of ladies, the Dennis stuff, the Portia stuff, she kind of like, I can't tell. Was she playing dumb, or was she silly, or was she really doing what you should do on these shows, which is give it a grain, take it with a grain of salt. Like, I felt like she was just going in, she was making a scene or whatever the case, and she didn't. I think one thing that I liked about Drew, and this was something that I didn't think of at the beginning, but I started to see, and a lot of cast members don't do this. They take it very personally, which of course, why wouldn't you? But I think Drew started to be like, let me go in, let me go light it up, create a scene or make a scene or be a part of a scene and not take it too personally. And I thought that was so cool. Am I the only one who saw it that way? Anyways, I say all that to say, why was she at the very end? That didn't make any sense. She, at the very least, had a dynamic season. She shared a lot because, of course, the relationship stuff is big and heavy. And we do gotta say, her visuals, her glow up was out of control in a good way. I was like, Drew really is, and this is how I derived at that opinion I just made, that Drew, in my opinion, was like, okay, I'm going to keep this check going. I'm going to continue to glow up and be like the superstar, because again, she was an actress and music is a big concern to her. I don't know why she worked with Dennis, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that what she was doing was she was like, okay, let me get through the season and just keep on elevating as best I can. She just, in many ways, she made me feel like a big fan of hers this season. And maybe it was all of the things. It could be the, what do we call it? The underdog syndrome. She's sort of the underdog, so maybe that's why I enjoyed her more. But if they would have put her as like the lead, like a Shamia, would I have maybe thought differently? But either way, I think Drew did earn her check. Let's say she earned that paycheck, and knowing the breaking up of the family, the marriage and all that stuff, I think she, of course, that's a big priority, and that's great for what she gives towards her family. I think it's wonderful, and she shared a lot. I mean, that's a lot to share. I'm the only one who says this. I'm not saying Marlo needs to come back, but Sanya Ross Richardson, Sanya. Okay, and I'll leave it with this. And again, you're welcome to have your own opinion of like this Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion seating chart, and also your thoughts on Brit not showing up, and your thoughts on Kenya sort of being alienated from the season. Just all of the thoughts as it culminates in this reunion, and we're kind of left a little bit unhappy. But back to Sanya. So I probably wouldn't necessarily say Sanya needs to come back to the show. I probably wouldn't necessarily say that. She was she was miscast on this show. But still, go for it. If the opportunity comes, do it. But she was trying to, like a little bit like Candy, like vibe on a higher frequency. And I feel like it's really hard to do on a show like, Real Housewives. I mean, Jersey had flipping tables and scandals in Beverly Hills. Like it's a tougher show to be like on a different level, right? So I'm not necessarily saying Sanya is perfect fit, but with all that went on this season, if you do come back for a Real Housewives of Atlanta next season, you bring in a Sanya, because now we have to counterbalance the mess. What's the word? The muck that is everything that Brit brought to the show. She really like downgraded the show. It's often said like she's made it more of a Zeus Network show, and that's all accredited to Brit, unfortunately. So in this case, you make that call, Bravo, casting, production, ring, Sanya, bring her back, she's a world-class athlete, as was her husband, as was the wonderful dynamic between business and work within her family, being so close in proximity, she being the breadwinner, and then the sister feeling like I work for you, but I'm also your sister. Like it was fantastic. And yeah, maybe it was misplaced last season or the season she was on. You bring her back now because the show really took a hit. And yeah, we could have Kelly's the baddie that's business entrepreneur. I get all that, but I think you need layers to the show, and I think that's what we're missing. We lost a lot with Candy. There's a reason Candy got paid what she got paid. We lost a lot with Candy. So if Candy doesn't come back, you need like a Sanya to come back, to be the voice of reason, to not even be the voice of reason, but like sometimes you could lead without saying a word, but just like in your actions and how you present and how you show up. And I think we need that elegance. I don't know if I'd consider Sanya like elegant, but we need that elegance back to the show. Anyways, these are just a couple of thoughts on season 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. This was supposed to be the super sweet 16 season. And I was so excited about Kenya. I don't love Portia, but I've been growing to enjoy Portia. Portia with Giselle was kind of funny on their TV show that they had where they were commentators, and then of course they did the girls trip together. So and it's been a while, so it was kind of interesting to see Portia, but this was supposed to be a big season, and unfortunately it wasn't. Whose fault is that? I don't know. Do we want Kenya back? That's probably the biggest question. So to each their own on the opinion, but that seating chart seemed to be a little rough, right? Like it didn't, we're going to have the biggest story of the show and Brit chooses not to be there. I don't know her reasons. I feel like we don't care her reasons. All we know is we want Kenya to have a way to say her side of things, independent from she did her YouTube channel and she spoke in her own words, but I feel like there needs to be a path back for Kenya. Maybe Nene, maybe everyone from season 1. I mean, at this point, She by Sheree, Joggers, Spring, September. Something needs to happen because it's a great show and there's so much potential. And again, Shamia should be having 7 seasons in a row and just becoming this superstar. I mean, she's already doing well, but poor Shamia this season not getting the proper support to be a winning season. That's all I can think of. But your opinion, of course, matters as well. So that's just what I think.